So as we've been covering today, that announcement from Twitter that we were just talking about, Kara and Donnie, the company no longer addressing COVID misinformation as a priority or as its responsibility. It's important to remind Twitter that COVID is still killing about 300 people in this country every single day. It infects more than 300,000 people in this country every single week. But it also comes amid real efforts from the Biden White House to make things better, to protect people. Biden administration continues to express some cautious optimism about their new campaign to get people vaccinated ahead of what's being called a triple-demic of respiratory viruses this winter. Joining us now, White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha. Dr. Jha, I wanted to call you. My whole family has had their COVID boosters in the last week because it's this triple thing. We were getting the flu shot and the COVID shot, and I know a lot of kids have RSV. So just tell me what this season looks like and what keeps you up at night, if anything.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, first of all, thanks for having me back. You know, what happens this season is largely up to us. We are seeing 3 highly contagious respiratory viruses circulating at high levels. RSV, influenza, and SARS-CoV-2 or COVID. They're all out there and they're all in pretty high numbers. Now, the good news, the extraordinarily good news, is we have highly effective vaccines against 2 of them, influenza and COVID. And if people go out in large numbers and get vaccinated against those 2 viruses, it takes hospitalizations and deaths from those 2 viruses largely off the table, dramatically lowers stat risk, reduces the burden on hospitals. And then, we can manage RSV. We know how to manage RSV. So a virus that's been around for a long time. For most people, it's not a big deal. It can be a challenge for young kids. So we know how to manage this. There are a lot of things that are under our control. And that's what we need to focus on, is doing the things that we know will make a difference.
Do you see the people participating in the new booster as a subset of the original group of people? I mean, are you dealing with a shrinking pool of Americans? So if you didn't get the original series and you never boosted, you're not likely to get Omicron. Are we going to end up with a country in which, 40, 50, 60, 70% is super immunized, and then you've got the deniers or the disinfo consumers with no protection?
Yeah, I hope not, and I actually don't think so. I mean, it's worth remembering 90% of adults got at least 1 shot of the vaccine. So the proportion of people who have gotten no vaccines at all is actually quite tiny. And then a lot of people have got their boosters last fall. Obviously, in terms of second boosters, people were eligible. Only certain people were. But here's the big picture shift, Nicole, that's happened in the last few months. In the past, you had to figure out, what am I eligible for? Do I get this? Do I get that? All of that, in some ways, is now gone. We are now at a point where, for a vast majority of Americans, it's once a shot, once a year. 1 shot, once a year. That's it. Now, for some high-risk people, the elderly, immunocompromised, they may need a second shot. So what I really believe is, majority of adults go out and get a flu shot every year. It's not a big deal. It's not political. It's not, it's just straightforward what you do to protect yourself and your family. And that's how people should be thinking about the COVID shot. And I am hopeful that that's how this is going to play out.
What are we doing as a country about long COVID? There's a terrifying story on CNBC today about the financial cost and the long-term disability risks of people suffering from COVID. And there's all sorts of almost desperate presence of people suffering from long COVID on social media, trying to create communities and outreach. What are the answers? What is known and unknown about long COVID?
Yeah, this is a really important issue. This is an issue that the president has actually talked quite a bit about and cares a lot about and has tasked us all to work on. In my mind, there's a 3-pronged approach. And then I want to talk about what we know on the science. The 3-pronged approach is, first of all, obviously making sure that people who have long COVID get the care they need. There's a lot of work that goes into providing care to a new disease that didn't even exist 3 years ago. Second is, some of these individuals are really affected, disabled, making sure they get the support they need, whatever they are entitled to, making sure that happens. Third, and again, just as importantly, is really investing in the science. There's a huge NIH effort called the RECOVER study, already has produced dozens of studies. We're going to see a lot of clinical trials of new therapeutics to try to address this. Here's what we know about long COVID right now. We know if you're up to date on your vaccines, that dramatically lowers your risk of getting long COVID if you have. It is not perfect. There are still people who can get it. But what we know is if you're up to date on your vaccines, your risk of getting long COVID substantially lower. Some preliminary evidence that if you get treated with Paxlovid, that can reduce your risk of long COVID. I don't want to oversell it. It's just one study, but very intriguing. We're going to get more data. So we're going to do everything we can to try to figure out how do you prevent it and then make sure we know how to treat it when people actually develop it.
Dr. Jha, what are your concerns? I know you were on the front lines of the first battle against COVID disinformation around the rollout of the first vaccines. And now Twitter seems to be moving backward in terms of reinstating a lot of those accounts that spread disinformation. What are your concerns in that area?
Yeah, I'll tell you, as a physician, I start with the basic fact that, like, when I've seen patients in my prior job before starting this one, I needed to make sure that patients had access to high quality information. People deserve quality, science-driven information, and that should be available to them online. It should be available to them everywhere. And I think everybody has a responsibility for making sure that happens. And the cost of not having that is the fact that hundreds of Americans are dying unnecessarily of a virus, where if people got up to date on their vaccines, Nicole, and if people took treatments that are now widely available and free, we could drive that 300 deaths a day to close to zero.
Wow.
So the cost of that misinformation is very large. And what I feel very strongly is we've got to do everything we can as a country to make sure people have access to high quality, good science-based information.
I cited the Washington Post reporting that of the 300 people a day that are dying, they are largely unvaccinated. Is that still the case?
Yeah, what we have right now is people who are largely under-vaccinated. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you're a 75-year-old who got 2 shots last April, you just don't have the level of protection you need to get through the Omicron wave that we've gone through this year. So the point isn't like people who are truly unvaccinated, it's a very tiny number. It's people who are undervaccinated, people who are not up to date on their vaccines. And at this point, I tell people, don't worry about how many shots you've had in the past. At this point, focus on going out and getting that new updated bivalent vaccine. It really makes a tremendous difference in keeping people healthy and out of the hospital.